Welcome back to the live broadcast. For those of you that have been joining for the past couple of weeks, you have probably been attending the 9 a.m. one, but we did want to try out a new time slot just to kind of see if that is a better fit for those of you that have been joining the content. So I see Mark has commented in from YouTube. Hello, Mark. So we are live on two platforms. We are live in our Facebook, on our Facebook page, Stahls All Things Heat Printing, and also through YouTube as well. So I do see some of you guys joining in. So feel free to comment. Let us know where you are joining from. We really do want to see how well this time slot is going to work out. Because we like things to be very interactive. So the more that you guys interact with me and we go through content, the better. So welcome if you haven't been joining the home edition broadcast live just yet, because we were going at 9 a.m. previously and it was a little too early for you. Welcome. So hi, Candy and Becky, everyone commenting in from YouTube and Facebook. Yeah, so today we are going to be going over sublimation and how you can actually sublimate on one of our really popular CAD-CUT heat transfer vinyls, and that is known as Glitter Flake. So for those of you that aren't familiar with the sublimation process, we're going to review that a little bit and then do a project with it so you can see some different things that you can actually do with it. Hi, Jim from Canada. Much better time. All right, awesome. And we have Wayne from Texas, Vicky from Cali. All right, Joe from Florida. All right, awesome. Cool. So it looks like we're getting some good feedback as far as how many people are actually getting in at this time frame. All right, so this is the project that we're going to be creating today. So you can see I have a template here. It says, take me to the beach, and it has a little van with a surfboard on top. And this actually has color to it. And that's because this portion of the design here was already sublimated. And then I just went back and pieced it in. But I want to show you how I'm sublimating the glitter flake before I even applied it to the shirt. Two reasons why this could be applicable to you and some of the designs that you're creating is if you want to utilize sublimation and all the features it has to offer, but you don't always want to apply to 100% polyester or a light colored polyester, this is going to help because Glitter Flake applies to multiple substrates. It can apply to 100% polyester, but it can also go on 50-50 blends, tri-blends that have rayon in it, spandex, different types of substrates that sublimation can't ultimately adhere to. So before we actually dive into the vinyl cutting process and the sublimation piece, I want to just review what sublimation is. So sublimation is a process where you're taking sublimation ink and printing it onto a transfer paper or release paper. And that release paper is then heated up with a heat press. A heat press is definitely going to get you the best application overall because it's going to evenly distribute the heat and the amount of pressure and temperature it needs to get its full vibrancy that it can achieve through that type of ink. And so a heat press is definitely the way to go when it comes to sublimation. But what it's doing with the ink that was printed out on that transfer paper is it's reacting to the heat and turning into a gas and then sticking to the substrate in which you are sublimating. And it is an extremely durable process. It is commonly used for polyester-based hard goods such as mugs, pens, like different type of plaques and promotional products is where we see that type of printing method happening a lot, but it also is happening a lot in apparel as well. So if you've ever seen garments that have patterns all over them and a white color on the inside, those are typically fully sublimated. So there's definitely a wide range of different things that you can do with sublimation, but there is some really cool stuff that you can do to craft with it, do projects, small things with apparel. And it's a way that a lot of people are doing graphic tees now too, because it's such an easy process to just take the transfer and heat apply it right onto your garment. But however, we have a CAD-CUT heat transfer vinyl that can actually be sublimated. And this was actually pieced together. I removed this part and sublimated it at the heat press separate after I cut out my template. So I'm going to walk you through the process now of how I created this, because it's actually really easy. All right, so I have my design loaded up in Cricut Design Space. So I'm going to share my screen with you here. All right, so this is the design here. I already went in and imported it. I had this, I made this template within CADWorks Live and exported it and brought it into Cricut. So for those of you that have been attending, you've seen me do that process a bunch of times. If you haven't, you can actually check out this process in our past one. So visit the YouTube channel and you can see how I'm actually taking my designs from another artwork platform and bringing them into Cricut Design Space. All right, so at this point, all I have to do is hit make it. And it's going to take the pieces of my template and drop it right into what the cutting mat is going to represent. So this is showing me exactly where it's going to send the design to cut. I'm going to drop my van down here so it's easy for me to cut these pieces apart, because I'm going to piece this in later after I sublimated this. All right, so I'm going to make sure my designs are mirrored, right, because we are cutting this out of glitter flake. So anytime we work with a heat transfer vinyl, we are taking the product and putting it shiny side down. So we're actually cutting the side of the adhesive for the heat transfer vinyl. So I need to make sure I'm mirroring my image so that when I go to flip that over onto my apparel, it is facing the right way on the garment. All right, so I'm just gonna hit continue and make sure I have my Cricut connected to my laptop. So I'm gonna plug that USB port in. And it's going to recognize that as soon as I have that plugged in. So whenever I cut out my glitter flake, I'm always on the iron on plus setting. So that is listed here. And then of course it's recognizing that this is an iron on product. So it's just reminding me to make sure that my mirror is on. So it says over here that it's on, so we are good to go. And I'm just going to hit fast mode here and then hit the go button. And that is actually on the cutter. So it's the Cricut logo. It flashes whenever it's ready. And I just hit that button. It's going to send my design to cut for me. Right. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that. And then the cutter is actually behind me. So you can see that kind of cutting there. All right. So I have the standard blade in. The cutter does come with two blades. One is the basic blade. It comes in a silver holder. And then there's another one if you need something for like really fine detail. I believe it's a different angle of a blade, and it comes in a black cartridge. All right, so there are two different types of blades. I just have the regular fine point one that's going to be cutting the glitter flake on the iron on plus setting. All right, so Mike says, cool, I'm going to start with sublimation very soon. Can't wait. Yeah, sublimation is a really nice way of printing because you get a really vibrant finish and the durability is outstanding. It's extremely sustainable. That's why a lot of promo companies use it to put personalization or customized logos on their hard goods, because they know they can pop that right into the dishwasher and it's not going to cause any issue at all. So yeah, sublimation is really great for those really high vibrant finishes. And if you aren't sublimating in-house, this is actually something that we offer as a transfer. So if you wanted to get a full color finish and it feel really nice on the garment, you can actually send your design through the Stahls artwork uploader. So I'm going to show you what that looks like now, because in my opinion, this is the easiest way to get started, is to be able to use transfers, test it out a bit, see if your customers are going to like it. And then that way you can decide, okay, is this an investment that I really want for my business? Do I want to get a printer and keep it in-house? They do offer a variety of different printers. Sawgrass I know very well and have worked with in the past. And they offer actually desktop printers. There are some large format printers as well. I know Roland used to offer one. They may still now, but I'm not positive. But there are a lot of different ways that you can actually get sublimation when it comes to the printer. But any printer that can have sublimation inks inserted into them and be able to print them out, ultimately you're going to get a good quality finish. So Sawgrass I know is a really good, they have really good desktop printers if you're looking for where to source a printer now. So Sawgrass, that's SAWGRASS, and that's how you can get started with them. All right, so the artwork uploader, I want to show you that briefly so that you can see what that looks like. All right, so basically all you have to do is upload your design. It's going to give you a readout, you know, of all the different file types that it accepts. So if I import something from my downloads, let's say it's this, for example, and I want this to be a sublimation transfer. Typically, sublimation transfers you'll want to be full color, have a lot of color to them, so they show very vibrant on the shirts that you're applying them to. And then you'll select CAD prints. So CAD prints is all of our full color digital type of transfers that all you need is a heat press to heat apply. And then we offer them in wall graphics and stickers as well. However, if it's going to be a transfer, you'll want to select the digital transfers and logos. And then it's going to ask you a few questions to make sure we're pinpointing that you're using the right product for the right substrate that you're applying to. So you can see here our CAD prints options. They're listed down here, but we want to make sure you're definitely applying it to the right thing. So again, sublimation, it's going to apply to 100% polyester. It's going to go on a light fabric. We don't need a split front. And then it'll give me the options in what type of product that I can utilize. And sublimation transfer is right here. The difference between sublimation and the digital transfers that we offer now is that sublimation is going to adhere directly to the fibers of the sublimation garment that you're heat applying to. Our other products are actually a printed vinyl, and that vinyl is going to sit on top of the garment. So both are great options. It just ultimately is going to be what type of finish that you're looking for or what your customer wants. All right, so that's the biggest difference. Sublimation is going to adhere directly to the fibers of the product that you're applying to. There isn't anything sitting on top of it. It becomes one with that substrate, right? So sublimation transfer, you'll select, this is my design, and all I have to do at this point is just give the dimensions that I want the transfer to be in so that I know it's the right dimensions of the garment I'm applying it to. And at that point, our custom department will take your artwork, get it set up for the sublimation process, and then send you the transfers ready to heat apply. All right, so, and that's exactly how I got the transfer that I'm utilizing now. I actually already cut it up, and it's just a really unique pattern. And this is another way, again, you don't have to just order transfers. You could make your own patterned glitter finishes if you want to, which is essentially what I'm doing now. So for those of you that are familiar with our patterned glitter, all right, so you can see the glitter speck in there. We do this process with eco-solvent printing, right? I don't want to confuse you guys too much, but I do want you to know that we do offer printed glitter already. But it's our patterns that we offer it in, and then you get to select the colors that go into it. So ultimately, you can get patterned glitter, but if you're interested in making your own patterned glitter, you can just order full sheets of sublimation with different patterns that maybe you made in Adobe or Corel, and you want to transfer that to your glitter designs. This would be a great option for that. All right, so that's exactly what I'm doing now. I actually trimmed up my full sublimation paper to the size that I need it to be for the little piece that I'm actually sublimating. All right, so My glitter flake is done being cut out here. So I'm going to remove my glitter flake from that cutting mat, all right, and go ahead and trim it up so that I don't have a ton of waste here. Now I can use the rest of that for another project. Okay, so I'm gonna trim out the van and then weed away the excess material of each piece. So you guys can see this process. For those of you working with heat transfer vinyl, you're familiar with this process. Just weeding away the excess material to expose the design that you sent to be cut out in it. And glitter flake, even though it's a thicker material, it does come on a pretty tacky carrier. So I can achieve some pretty decent detail in this product. All right, so now at this point, I'm just weeding out all those little pieces. All right, so when it comes to sublimating glitter flake, technically, all of the colors that we offer in glitter flake, all of those can be sublimated. However, as I mentioned earlier, one of the best practices for sublimating to really get a true vibrant finish with sublimation is using a light colored garment and it being 100% polyester. So technically the same thing is going to apply for the vinyl that you're sublimating as well. So I want to make sure that it's always going to be a light color. So even if I wanted to do this in like one of our silvers or golds, I could do that because the vibrancy would still show up. However, if I want it to be really true to color, what I'm going to do is make sure that it is the white glitter flake so that all those different colors, such as the pattern I'm going to be heat applying, really show up well. All right, so sometimes whenever I'm working with glitter flake, I just pinch it a little bit to try to find where those cut lines are if my lighting isn't picking it up for me. Some people will even put like a backlight underneath that like artists use for drawing and tracing things. And they've said that it has lit up their cut lines well for them. I've never tested that theory, but just keep that in mind if you're weeding a lot of material that maybe the cut lines don't show up all that well in. That is an option. All right, so just making sure I'm getting out all these little pieces. And then we will do the sublimation process so you can see how easy it is to sublimate glitter flake. And while we're on that discussion, one of the key accessories that you need is a Teflon cover sheet. The Teflon is actually going to act as the backer for my glitter flake so that it saves the adhesive. So I can go ahead and sublimate this without damaging the adhesive so that it doesn't want to transfer to my shirt after I'm done sublimating it. All right, so I have all of my little cut lines out. This was actually sourced from Love SVG. They do a lot of free clip art and templates on there. So that's where I sourced this template from. And now what I need to do to get this sublimated and get that pattern on there is actually remove it from its carrier. All right, so whenever you're considering your sublimation piece and what you actually want to have the pattern in that design, you want to make sure that it's something that doesn't have a ton of detail in it, because ultimately you have to get it off of its carrier and you don't want lines that are too thin that could possibly rip during this process. Also, if I were to be doing maybe the text, I would have to go in and piece all of those together unless I'm maybe using a masking to lift it up off. I haven't tested the masking after I've sublimated glitter flake before. It could very well work, but just keep that in mind. Make sure that you're not getting too detailed. a ton of little letters or anything like that, because ultimately you have to pick each of those off and then piece them all back together. So I'm going with just a pretty solid piece here for that sublimation process. Now what I'm going to do is sublimate this at the heat press with my sublimation transfer sheet. Okay, so I have my heat press already set up for me. All right, so this is actually set at 380 degrees, and I'm going to be heat applying this for 45 seconds. All right, so that's the time and temperature I use. I'm using a medium pressure, and you can see right now that the inks of this transfer paper are actually a little bit muted, but it's going to ultimately end up looking like this. See how vibrant those colors are in comparison to this sheet, okay? So once this is activated with heat, it really brings out all the colors, right? So I'm taking my glitter flake piece and putting it on my Teflon sheet, so you can actually see that that sublimation transferred onto this Teflon sheet from my test one earlier. I'm gonna use that same one in that same spot. You could see if I was doing multiple of these, I could just line them up here if I wanted to, and then use a really big sheet of my sublimation paper and lay that over top of the whole thing. All right, so now I'm just placing this right over top of that. And because this Teflon sheet is technically a non-stick carrier, it's gonna save that adhesive from being able to still heat apply afterwards, because that adhesive isn't going to stick to that non-stick cover sheet. All right, so you see a lot of comments coming in, so I'm going to visit those while this is heating up. Again, this is heating up for 45 seconds. All right, so Ken says he does a lot of sublimation, or Condi does a lot of sublimation. Yeah, so Condi is a really good resource for a lot of different sublimation products, so keep them in mind. I actually in the past have shown how to heat apply sublimation onto flip-flops, and I actually sourced the flip-flops from them. All right, so at this point, this is fully sublimated now. So this is really, really hot. And what we want to do right now is let this cool, because we want that adhesive to completely cool down and not be activated from all the heat. Because again, glitter flake has an adhesive that is heat activated. So what we need to do is let that adhesive cool down. I can go ahead and remove my sublimation paper though, so you can see all those really bright colors that actually come out of that ink. All right, so that's a prime reason of why people love using sublimation. And it's even better that if you are in the market for it, or a niche that loves that glitter finish, that you can customize how you're sublimating their glitter designs. All right, so now we're going in that same process where we're removing the glitter flake from its backing, making sure we're being very careful not to rip anything. All right, and now we can do the heat application process. All right, so very simple. The heat press does all the work. You heat it up to the temperature it needs to be, set the timing on there, make sure your pressure is accurate, and it's gonna do the rest of the process for you. Now we can go ahead and heat apply onto a cotton t-shirt, in which this design was actually created for. So what I'm going to do is finish my template up by placing the van on there where I want it to be in the design. And what I'm gonna do now to make sure this is nice and flat on there for the heat application part is take a squeegee and go from the center out, making sure I'm flattening everything and the lines are exactly how I want them to be. Right, so this line actually is down a little further than what it needs to be. So I'm just taking my weeding tool and lifting that up and pushing it up a bit. That's the beauty of Glitter Flake. It has that nice tacky carrier, so it's easy for me to just drop things back in place of where I want them to be in the design. Right, so now we can take this and heat apply it. All right, so glitter actually applies at 300 degrees. Since I'm applying on 100% cotton, I'm not so concerned that this is going to scorch on me. It may get a little dark in color because of all the heat from it, but ultimately if it's 100% cotton, that sort of thing is just gonna go away as the air hits it, right? So I can just place this down and heat apply it. And my sublimation is completely covered with that cover sheet, so I don't have to really worry about having a cover sheet on hand. That carrier is going to cover that for me, and I don't really need to worry. All right, so Glitter Flake itself applies at 300 degrees for 10 to 15 seconds. So we're just waiting for this to count down, right? Since that was set at 45 seconds, I can go ahead and remove that at 35 seconds as that's counting that down. And now we can remove the carrier for the finished results. All right, and again, sublimation doesn't adhere to cotton, so there isn't any concern as if those sublimation ink is going to transfer onto my shirt. So this is really, really simple and a really cool way of different projects that you can do. And if you're not working with sublimation now, of course, it's something that you can just upload your artwork right on our website. And whether it's a pattern or an actual design, that's the result that you can do with CAD-CUT Glitter Flake. So really cool, takes your designs to the next level, allows you to get full color without having to actually invest in a printer. So I'd highly recommend checking those out. All right, so let's go ahead and review some of the comments and questions that you guys have. All right, so Adrian asked, is that an older heat press or is that one you currently sell? We do sell it. So we actually just launched it within the past week. It's on our website now, so you can find it there. I believe it's roughly like $300. So it's a really great intro press that is at a really good price point for getting started with heat printing. So in comparison to some of the other heat presses out there, this one really great because it gives you those time and temperature readouts, and it has that over the center pressure knob so that you're getting accurate pressure in all of your applications. So if I was going to recommend a press to get started with, if you're upgrading from a iron or maybe one of those square iron heating elements that Cricut makes, this is going to be perfect because it gives you the pressure and your time and temperature readouts, so you know you're getting an accurate application every time. All right, Ivan says, I need a Hotronix. Yeah, Hotronix machines, game changer. So if you guys are looking to upgrade from maybe a China press, Hotronix is amazing. So be sure to check those out. Those are all on our website as well. All right, another question. On cotton, it will wash out when you first sub it. Will it be in the void areas? Okay, so since we have sublimated onto Glitter Flake, which is a polyester substrate, I don't have to worry about any of these inks leaving this. These inks are not going to be transferred onto the cotton or onto the other Glitter Flake as long as you are following the care instructions. Hang drying, all right, because sublimation can be activated from any type of heat, so it could be activated from a dryer. So as long as you or your customers or your family and friends, whoever you're making this for, follows those care instructions of hang drying and washing cold, then you won't have to worry about these reactivating and possibly transferring onto the shirt or on other parts of the design. All right, can you cut the pattern mirrored? Yes, you can. Actually, no, let me rephrase. If you're talking about the patterns that we make in rolls already on glitter, this is going to be that same process of the other patterns that we offer, sign vinyl. You actually don't mirror your designs to cut this product out because there is a masking method that goes along with this to expose the adhesive on the back end. All right, and let's see, some other comments and questions. Does the ink come off of the Teflon sheet? No, Sharon, it does not. So technically, I would only use this moving forward to do sublimation, because if I were to use this as a cover sheet, this would activate and actually adhere to my upper heating element. So keep that in mind. I have made that mistake before, and it was a disaster because we ended up putting white baseball jerseys on the heat press. Oh my gosh, it's so traumatic. Like, I have PTSD from it. They were like really expensive baseball jerseys, and the sublimation transferred onto those because they were polyester and they were white. So the pattern showed up there later on because it got onto the upper heating element, and it was terrible. All right, so can you reuse the Teflon sheet? Yeah, reuse this as much as possible as long as you're doing sublimation. And this is not going to be exposed to the upper heating element. And then Ivan asks, why not apply to garment and sublimate after? Reason being because I don't want to try to contour this to where it needs to be heat applied. So keep in mind, although sublimation does not adhere to cotton, the ink will actually show up on it, and it will come off in the wash. But if I were just handing this off to the customer, it would show the box of the sublimation. Okay, so it would come off once they washed it, but still you would want the end result to look like this as opposed to having that box on it, right? And then also I would have to be aware of the other glitter flake pieces that I wanted to just be solid white. So I wouldn't want that to accidentally transfer there either. All right, and yes, that is a common misconception that the adhesive will transfer over to the Teflon sheet and ruin that adhesive, but because this is technically a non-stick type of cover sheet, it saves the adhesive. So that's why we always recommend using that type of cover sheet. All right. Cher recommends backlighting for weeding. So we always talk about best practices and different types of weeding methods. So backlight works well for a lot of people for trying to find lines in the heat transfer vinyl. I have noticed in the past, the thicker the material, the harder it is to actually see the lines. So keep that in mind. And is there a limit for the sublimation transfers from Maria on YouTube? So there is a 5-piece minimum, right? That's really it. From there, you can order as many as you want. But if you are going to be ordering the sublimation transfers, just have at least 5 pieces and you'll be good to go. Carl asked if the gases from the sublimation are toxic. No, they are not. Not that I am aware of. So although I know a good bit about the heat application, I've never heard of them being toxic. So you should be fine. I've never heard of anyone needing a specific type of ventilation or anything like you would maybe if you were laser cutting, something like that. But I've never heard that for sublimation, so you should be good to go there. And the material, once again, that I was sublimating on Paul was Glitter Flake. All right, and then Ken says that Epson printers also does sublimation. And Ivan, the only drawback I see of sublimation is that it only works on 100% polyester or a high amount of poly. That's correct. So there are, with any type of printing method, there are always limitations. So this definitely meets what people need when it comes to vibrancy in apparel and full photorealism in their designs. And it feels great on the garment, but you're right. You definitely need 100% polyester to be able to see that vibrancy. I've also noticed a really big trend now where people are using sublimation in on like 50-50 garments or some products that have a little bit of content or cotton content in them, but mainly a high percentage of polyester. However, I've noticed that the images are a little bit diluted. They don't have that high vibrancy like we were able to achieve with the glitter flake because of its 100% polyester substrate. But that's also trendy in retail, is actually having faded, retro looking distressed designs. So keep that in mind. That may be the look that you're after. So don't push cotton polys aside. It's still kind of trendy and seen a lot in retail. All right. And Vicky says she is new to vinyl, but she does sublimation. So yeah, sublimation is really fun to pair with vinyl. I've actually done a project in the past where I sublimated a design and then paired CAD-CUT heat transfer vinyl with it. It was actually metallic and it looked so awesome. So I love mixing medias and experiencing with different things that can pair easily together. And that was actually a really unique look. All right, so Teresa asked, what type of sub printer did you use? So once again, this is a transfer that I ordered right from our website. So I'm gonna share that with you one more time. You go to the artwork uploader and it is one of our CAD prints transfer products. So you just upload your design and then you select your sublimation transfer and then it will be sent to you ready to heat apply. However, I'm not sure what our production team, what type of sublimation printer they actually use. It's definitely a large format, so I would assume probably Epson or something like that. However, there are desktop sublimation printers out there that Sawgrass makes that I've worked with in the past, and they get you really great quality transfers as well. All right, and can you sublimate flock? Cher asks. So this is something that I have tested. It didn't last in the wash cycle as long, so this is going to last as long as the glitter flake will. That's the one thing about sublimation inks, is that they're very durable and they last very long. So when you're working with this, it's gonna last as long as the product that you are applying it to. Flock, I guess, is not 100% polyester. And it didn't last as long as this would in the wash. Also, it came out very diluted. So that's another reason why I'm assuming it's not fully just a polyester substrate. It probably has some other type of content in there. So flock, definitely have tested it. It looks okay, but it doesn't last long and it's not as vibrant as the glitter flake turns out. All right, well, thank you guys so much for joining me. It looks like the 3 p.m. time slot was a success. So we're going to continue with the 3 p.m. And I go live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Josh will be back with you guys tomorrow to continue the Making It Together broadcast on his end, where he goes over a lot of business tips and things that you can be doing during this time to really prep for what's coming. So be sure to join him tomorrow at 11, and I will be back again on Wednesday with you guys at 3. All right, thanks. Have a good one.